I remember when I first started my career journey and wondering if I had what it took to become a self-taught software engineer. I had to wrestle with the idea, wondering if I was smart enough, if I was talented enough, or if I was technical enough. Little did I know none of these things were important to my success. All I needed was a few behavioral characteristics to guarantee that I would be successful becoming a self-taught software engineer. The first is the confidence just to start. This may seem simple, but a lot of people have trouble with this. When you look at changing your career, especially into the technical field, it can be very intimidating. So a lot of people, they may watch videos about how to get into the field, they get excited about it, but they don't do anything. It seems too scary. But the best way to get over that fear is just to do it and just to start. This may sound silly, but I used to be terrified of roller coasters. But I had never been on one until there was a girl who's now my wife that I wanted to impress, and she loved roller coasters. Eventually, one day she had the idea of going to Six Flags, and I was not looking forward to this. At the time, I'm not sure if she knew I was scared of roller coasters or not, but it became very obvious once we got to the park. But she told me something very key, something that you would tell to a little kid. If you're scared, you just have to do it. So I finally did it, and I rode my first roller coaster when I was well into my 20s. I remember how I felt during the ride. There was some fear, but there was some excitement, and also some satisfaction because I had actually conquered my fear. It was crazy because once I got off, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep riding more roller coasters. I'm thinking, wow, that wasn't too bad. Fast forward to today, and I love roller coasters. I mean, I really love roller coasters. But how would I have known this if I never tried to conquer my fear or just give it a try? It's the same thing when it comes to you changing your career. It's scary, it's intimidating, but you have to start. Whether that be taking online lessons, getting a mentor, or signing up for a coding boot camp, either way, just start. The next thing is persistence. If anyone was to ask me one thing that they needed to become a self-taught engineer, it would definitely be persistence. Working on something that doesn't have immediate feedback or results can be very frustrating. I mean, I studied for a year before I was able to even get my first entry-level job changing careers into this field. And when I say study, I mean study day in and day out. I was studying during my lunch break, after work, on the weekends, at night. I wasn't going out and hanging out with friends. I was focused and I was zoned in for an entire year with no result. There were many times where I thought I just couldn't do it. I didn't think I was smart enough. It just seemed too confusing. There were even more times where I felt like I was just wasting my time. I was putting in all of this effort in something that I didn't even think I was going to be successful in. I felt like I was putting in so much work learning how to code, and that one day it would just all be in vain. Even though there were many days and nights to where I wasn't sure if I could do it, I kept trying anyway, and I kept going. I was persistent every single day, and I didn't stop, and I didn't give up. And it's funny because I got to one day and I remember things just kind of clicked for me. Everything that just seemed so massive and confusing, I started to understand it just on a basic level, but that only came with the persistence. And the key was, the only thing that I'm doing is telling this computer what to do step by step. I was looking at the overall big picture. I was trying to understand all of these large concepts instead of just learning the basic of what I'm doing. But I would have never gotten to this point if I wasn't persistent and I gave up. So although there will be times where you feel like you're wasting your time and you're not even sure if you can meet your goals, you feel like you won't be successful at all, I promise you, the key to all of this is persistence. There's nothing special about me or any other developer that you may see or engineer that you may see that changed careers, that got into this field without going to school and without a degree. The only thing is, we just didn't give up. The next thing will be discipline. Now this is somewhat related to being persistent, but kind of different in other ways. Discipline will carry you a long way when that spark of motivation fades away. I personally don't like to rely on motivation because it's a very temporary feeling. A perfect example is the first 2 or 3 months after the new year and you go to the gym. Anybody that regularly goes to the gym hates this period of time because you see so many new people taking up all the machines, all the weights and everything else because they became motivated to change their body after the new year. They saw some video on YouTube that got them super excited, and this was the time that they're gonna finally change their body. But what happens at the end of March, around the middle of April? Every year, you don't see these people again. And the reason why is because they were working off motivation instead of discipline. Discipline is doing the things we know we have to do, even if we don't feel like doing it. I don't always want to work, but I like to make money and I like to eat, so I work. I don't always want to go to the gym, but I like to be in shape, I like to look fit and be healthy, so I go, even when I don't want to. And this is the same thing that you need when you're trying to get into your software engineering career. You won't always be motivated to study, you won't always be motivated to work on these projects, but you have to do it. You won't always be motivated to keep applying and interviewing once you get turned down like I did when I first started, but you have to keep doing it. So focus on discipline and not on motivation, because relying on motivation will not get you far. You also need a long-term mindset. One thing that I don't like to see, especially when it comes to coding bootcamp marketing, is they make it seem like you'll start studying for 6 months you get done and walk into a 6-figure job. The honest truth is that is very, very rare. Although an entry-level salary in software engineering is a lot higher compared to other jobs, it still takes some time to solidify yourself and to advance into the higher salary ranges. And very rarely will you see an entry-level developer with 6-figure salaries. However, being in this field, you can advance a lot faster compared to other fields, but you need to be patient. My first 2 to 3 years had a pretty low salary, but I had my eyes on the bigger salaries. But things went a little slower than I expected and anticipated. But once I had the skill set and the confidence to try to move up to the next level outside of a junior, like a junior range, that's when things started to really heat up, and that's when the salary ranges started to increase a lot higher. So don't be discouraged if your career starts off slow, especially regarding money. As long as you stick with it, you will get to a point to where each time you change a job, you should get a nice pay increase. But we all had to start from the bottom and build our way up. The next thing I would say is to pick one language, pick one focus. Now, I've talked about a lot of non-technical things that you need, but this is one very important technical thing that you do need. I remember when I first started to learn coding, I would focus on everything. I was trying Java, I was trying Ruby on Rails, jQuery, JavaScript, Node.js, Angular, React, CSS, Bootstrap, HTML. I tried everything. I'm sure I'm missing some because I tried a lot. All of this gave me a lot of exposure to languages. If I would have kept up with this, it would have definitely slowed me down. The good thing by doing this is that I was able to see what my interests are. I started with backend like Ruby and things, and I realized that it just wasn't as exciting to me until I got into front-end languages and, as you know, JavaScript, which is my favorite. Once I realized that I really enjoyed JavaScript and I didn't mind studying, I didn't mind learning it, I started to zone in on it and I focused on it. I wanted to learn all the nuances, all the techniques, all the strategies that all the front-end developers that I saw that were really high up were using and doing. So that's my advice to you also. When you first start, try different languages to see where your interests are, but don't take too long on this process. Once you actually see where your interest is, zone in on it and focus on it. Because honestly, these same concepts can be replicated in other languages. All you would need to do is just learn the syntax of that different language. I see people talk about, becoming a full stack developer, and depending on your career and how you want to approach it, that may be the best thing. But I've seen that the people that specialize in something can end up making more money. This specialization can even be for a platform like a Salesforce developer or even a ServiceNow developer. But that's another video for another day. So these are the things that I have for you. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And do not give up.